Call of Duty is one of the most infamous franchises in history. Whether you love it or hate it, at some point in time, we grinded our Black Ops 2 or our Black Ops 3s and had digital touchy time with someone's deceased corpse. With that said, players have plenty of fond memories and somehow always forget about the real CoD games, like Call of Duty Phone. You don't remember this? You're always talking about how you love Call of Duty 4, but you're never talking about old grimy Call of Duty 4, and I'm sure that's for a reason. If you ask a CoD fan of any age, not a single player will tell you this is their favorite entry, and it's not just one we have, there's more of these than you think, these Java 2 Micro Edition Call of Duty games. It started with them bringing over the first game, and they stopped after Black Ops 1, taking the numbers to a whole new level. Each of them are essentially the same thing. You run around, shooting cheese balls at opposing soldiers, awaiting big moments, like when this lettuce-ass tank comes in and crashes my game. They're all brain-dead primitive waste that a chimp could grind away at, but you can't really hold it against the games. I mean, you played all of them on one of these bad Larrys, so it's understandable why they're all quite literally toilet games. They'll hold your attention until you perform your obligations, then you go on your merry way. I don't think it's worth fighting through the sandstorm, wasting money on a Mesozoic phone to give one of these a whirl. They're just an interesting piece of history that don't have much to say about them, and surely have not raised any peckers yet. So to let that eroticism flourish throughout the veins of Call of Duty, this is what I would consider the first real attempt at bringing the series over to a handheld. Call of Duty on the Nokia N-Gage. One of the most bizarre and interesting creations the world has ever seen. The N-Gage was supposed to be a phone and a handheld gaming console put into one. Unfortunately, it was standing against the Game Boy Advanced that flattened it with a steamroller when it came to the mobile gaming market, amongst many other problems, and it faded into obscurity. Still, the console was surprisingly capable for the time, hence why Call of Duty was put onto it. I didn't get a chance to play it myself. I couldn't get my emulator to work, one of the many sins I have committed throughout my life. So I'm just stuck looking at it, which is fine enough, honestly. It's a watered-down, blocky port of the first entry in the series that is crusty beyond all comprehension, just like the Java games. Not really much to say about this one, aside from how it's impressive the game runs at all. And yeah, it's pretty flaccid so far with the mobile Call of Duties. Not much is really going on. It's only until we get to the DS market is where things start getting fully torqued. Initially, these Call of Duty games right here make you feel similarly to when you see our cooking lord and savior, Kathy Mitchell, making fucking apple pies out of ramen. There are hardly any first-person shooter games on the DS. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is Metroid Prime Hunters. This console just isn't known for having them, but we were given 5 Call of Duties, all developed by N-Space. And naturally, you start with the first one, Call of Duty 4. That is not a port, shockingly. It of course has the same name, but the game itself tries to build off the universe Call of Duty 4 started, rather than attempting to recreate the console release. We get no low-res crusty Captain Price in here. Instead, we get Sergeant Vance, who doesn't sound half bad with voice acting.
Now we're going to work on placing and disarming explosive charges. Now, move on to the arming station to prime the explosives.
I thought it was gonna sound like sticking my head inside of a microwave. No, the voice clarity is astounding. After this one-way conversation, he has us do a few mini-games because it's required for the DS to have them, playing around with the touchscreen and all. We need to defuse a bomb by rotating a few Tetris blocks to give us a passcode, and here we drag a line on a highlighted wire. They're pretty trivial. Honestly though, I'd rather do this than just stand there watching it happen. Oh no, we're coincidentally being attacked after finishing the tutorial. Nobody saw this coming. And the combat is not terrible. For DS standards, your way of aiming is simply dragging your stylus around the touchscreen, and I'm sure if I was playing this on a real DS, it would be leaps and bounds more difficult to pull off. There's no way you're gonna be dicking on anyone when you're going over potholes in the back of a car. Unfortunately, they didn't have any other option for aiming, aside from maybe using the face buttons, which might be worse actually. Luckily, we only needed to stomach it for a short period of time in the first level, because in Call of Duty fashion, now we're riding in an age-old Jeep, mowing down everyone with a machine gun turret, blowing up other vehicles, tearing up asphalt, living vicariously through the COD. I feel so immersed into the Call of Duty universe after murdering dozens of people on the DS children's console. That's partially a joke, since I can't even lie, this is super impressive for a DS. The game has a few of these segments where you're on a helicopter or whatever, leveling out Earth on a turret, and the fact your DS wouldn't be the mechanism catching fire is worthy of some praise for sure. We're even given the one and only AC-130 segment to drive the point home. Alright, it's kinda raunchy and sad compared to the actual thing. I'm glad they found a way to include it regardless. When it comes to the rest of the on-foot portions, that being most of the game, you go through a variety of levels, doing simple objectives, running from point A to point B, shooting a couple guys here and there, occasionally needing to defuse a bomb by playing Connect the Dots, with the only serious difficulty coming from the limitations. Yes, the touchscreen is the only logical choice they can make to have you aim, does not mean it's good. When enemies move around or head glitch behind a box, trying to hit them becomes way more difficult than it should be. Thankfully, the skill-based matchmaking is in full effect. A lot of the goofballs just stand there letting me bring them to Pound Town. If they weren't doing this, finishing some of these levels would be a serious struggle. It also helps your hip firing is incredibly accurate, so you don't need to aim down ever unless you're using a sniper. With that in mind, I still feel like you need to play on the easier difficulties unless you're able to fully harness the powers of Raw and slaughter the other armies using your glorified pen, or in my case, a mouse. There were moments I got laced up and died in seconds because I couldn't windmill myself around accurately enough to kill who was shooting me. It wasn't very often because you're pretty tanky in this game overall, but there are instances you need to play slow and tactical on missions that aren't stealth missions so you don't get ripped to pieces, which I guess fills the rear end of that military fetish a lot of players of the series seem to have, so there's enough to get off to for them in that regard. Even with the annoyances of aiming though, COD 4 on the DS is honestly pretty good. There are no other serious complaints you can give it. The fact there was a functional, mostly playable Call of Duty game on a DS in 2007 is impressive. This thing even has a multiplayer. You sadly either need another person to own the game and connect with them, or do DS download play to try it, or to look at the content for that matter, which is depressing, but as you'll soon see, everything can and will become a lot more expansive, keeping in line with the actual series itself. Who would have thought? Right after we got Call of Duty 4 DS, we had World at War DS up next, adding a few new features in there, like climbing over fallen wilderness. That's right, climbing is new. It was not possible before. They also changed the bottom screen a bit, adding a dedicated aim down button instead of having you tap the minimap twice to perform the forbidden tactic like in Call of Duty 4. World at War in totality feels a lot more fine-tuned around the edges, while still maintaining the same carpal tunnel aiming and gameplay we had before, where we go from mission to mission, doing whatever objectives are asked of us like the subservient little bitch boy we are, with a couple new mini-games tossed in there. We have one where you need to defuse a landmine, tapping the touchscreen to match these dots or lines on the top screen, sending a message out, and this other one that makes me want to play hot potato with a hand grenade. You need to spin these wheels around, aiming a mortar launcher and fire it at towers or whichever objective you're given. Occasionally it's using a turret to shoot boats, but with both, you're essentially just spinning the wheels, playing trial and error until you get it right. Some of them can be quite frustrating. Look at all these losers not having the all-powerful technology back then. Unless you're talking about your fellow comrades, not gonna lie, these guys are programmed to carry you in a lot of instances throughout the game, something that is not very Call of Duty. Surely anyone who has played a COD campaign knows how useless the friendly AI are. They don't do anything aside from stand there and shoot the wall half the goddamn time. Here, they're all taking the prime Liver King roid stack, $10,000 a month, putting in actual work. Unless you're on a turret. That's when you're able to become the one-man army, mute, fisting first the Japanese, then the Germans machine we all know and love. I always love these segments in Call of Duty. You'd think at least one of these goobers flying a plane could hit this boat. A single person on a turret should not be doing this much. And if blowing up an entire aerial fleet doesn't fill up the power trip engines for you, they even let us fly a plane ourselves. That is surprisingly far more boring than any of the on-foot segments. You just press L and R to turn, slowly hovering your way over to carpet bomb a building while getting mini turret segments interspersed between objectives. I wasn't expecting Superman 64 levels of maneuvering, but come off it with this. Other than the few newly added mini games and plane segments, World at War's gameplay is almost identical to CoD 4, obviously. This time, it's just fleshing out the universe that World at War was building with the official release, which I think is a pretty interesting approach with all these DS releases. It's very easy to look at these games and say they're piles of shit, or whichever profanities you want to use towards them, but N-Space tried to make their own thing out of it, rather than attempting to bring low-poly Reznov and the squad over to the DS. The characters and what is happening throughout the story is almost completely original. And if that's not interesting enough, World at War also upped the ante with the overall content compared to CoD 4. They introduced challenge mode, having you run through levels trying to accomplish whatever objective it is, like 20 kills or kills with specific weapons within a time limit. Collectibles are also stuck into every level also, so you can try your best to find them all and build yourself a picture. I don't really give a fuck about making a picture. I can do that on a piece of paper. It's still alright nonetheless. But more importantly than all that filth, this time we get more of a view on the multiplayer. I can't load in, unfortunately, but it's insane to me. They actually had public matches and an in-game friend system on this thing with leaderboards. You would need to visit a website to see leaderboards that are lost to time, sadly. Even when using the Wayback Machine, the pages don't load. So all we can really do here is look at the map's pictures that I'm guessing are all portions of the campaign reused to create the multiplayer maps. Upon selecting one, you pick a faction, then choose a character skin, oddly. Of course, they look like they came straight out of the Mortal Kombat Flawless Victory book with their smudgy ass. After choosing your art piece, depending on which faction you're on, you can pick one of the listed guns. I just hate that I can't try this multiplayer out. What I wouldn't do to allow myself to spend time playing what might be some kid's '08 slur game, raging their heart out at Call of Duty multiplayer for the first time. It's unreal to imagine it, but that story has a high possibility to be true for someone out there. This was someone's first CoD game. Then MKUltra hooked them onto the cycle, play Call of Duty, wait, pay your taxes, then buy another Call of Duty. And that Call of Duty is Modern Warfare 2, or for some unknown reason, it's called Modern Warfare Mobilized. I don't know the reasoning for why this name change happened. Did someone get angry about putting Modern Warfare 2 on the DS? Whatever the reason is, I'm not gonna toot the horn again. Modern Warfare Mobilized is essentially the same game as Call of Duty 4, with improved graphics and all the quality of life changes that were introduced into World at War DS, including the most annoying change that I didn't mention. Gotta save at least one thing to talk about here. The hip firing was revamped to be more in line with the console releases. I don't think that was a good idea. It makes the aiming and shooting a lot more difficult since you are required to aim down to kill people that are further than pissing in a hurricane distance now. The way Call of Duty 4 did aiming made everything a lot more fluid, where you could just look at an enemy and tap them down without having something else to worry about on top of it. Mobilized, or any of the releases after CoD 4, aren't ruined because of that or anything. It's just an unnecessary change to me, especially if you consider what console these are supposed to be played on. Still, you can go through the story mode, door dashing the business to whoever needs it, playing your challenge mode, or going over to the multiplayer that is set up exactly like World at War. This time, however, we can actually load into the maps, seeing them with our own shits. And from what I played in the campaign, these maps appear to be unique to the multiplayer. It's hard to say if they're designed well, since I'm missing the most important piece of multiplayer, that being the multi part. I just find it surreal they went out of their way to design unique maps for a multiplayer that I highly doubt had a player base above 4 digits at any given time. One day, I will find a way to resurrect this game from the dead, bringing the Modern Warfare 2 vibe back on the DS. People can hope my family dies in an automobile wreck when they're losing, and all that good stuff. As we grind our one-time ever-seen game mode called Switch, where you run around pressing switches and defend them from other players. It appears little by little, with each entry of the DS Call of Duty saga, things get more and more interesting in their own ways, with general game improvements, more content, being able to look at multiplayer maps. So, does it stop with Modern Warfare Mobilized? Not at all. Call of Duty DS game number 4 is Black Ops 1, also known as the pinnacle of Call of Duty DS gaming, no questions asked. They filled this thing full of content, also adding the major choice of letting you choose if you want to aim with a stylus or with face buttons. I stuck with the stylus. I know I said earlier, the stylus aiming can be frustrating to deal with at times, and causes unreasonable levels of wrist pain, even when doing it through a mouse. I'd rather deal with that than trying to aim at enemies with zero aim assist, only using buttons. For the game modes, Black Ops gives us our campaign, playing almost identical to the last few we've talked about, where we can do stuff like helicopter gaming with some of the most archaic hot dog water controls I've ever seen, having me aim my missiles and machine guns with the A, B, X, Y buttons while trying to blow up villages and boats. The challenge mode slop returns. They added a Modern Warfare 2 pit type of game mode where you need to keep running through a building, shooting targets, getting the fastest time humanly possible. The multiplayer was ramped up even more again. I sadly can't load in, but it appears they tried doing a DS version of Create a Class, letting us choose our primary, secondary, then finally perks were stuck in here as well, all unlocked through the leveling system in the public matches, which is seriously incredible. Like, we actually have a real junior Call of Duty going on here. Having leveling and perks may not sound like much at first, but for a DS, having this level of content for, again, a multiplayer I highly doubt many people were playing, it's just shocking they'd even go through the effort to implement these features. This is as close to Call of Duty multiplayer as you'd be able to get for the time period. If you had no possible way to access the real thing, or you lived in some sort of hole separated from society, players seriously could have grinded Black Ops DS. And when you finally got tired of it all, you had the highlight of this entire thing. Good old fucking zombies was also stuck into this as a final piece of the puzzle, making everything come full circle. Having 4 original maps, we don't have peasantry like Kino der Toten, or as the kids used to say, Kino der Toten. Here we play fucking house, or maybe a facility, an overlook, a temple, absolute classics that people are still flapping their gums about to this very day. Unsurprisingly, these maps and the mode itself is incredibly bare bones, similar to the ancient times of zombies. No perks, no wonder weapons, you have a couple windows to look at, trying your best to shoot the sentient Halloween decorations as they claw their grubby mitts through the Minecraft iron bars, needing 5,000 points to go into the next room, and as you're trying your best to find out where everything is, one hit, you're dead. Probably being the most questionable part of the whole endeavor, one single hit ends your game. Maybe it was their way of attempting to make zombies more scary, but putting a player in these claustrophobic areas with one-hit deaths on a DS that, keep in mind, has you either aim with a stylus or face buttons, no aim assist at all, is an asinine choice if I've ever seen one. Trying to make your way through the maps is genuinely difficult. You need to save up your points and get the glorious 5,000 to open door 1, then 10,000 to open door 2. Thankfully, the economy is heavily inflated in this alternate universe, so getting that amount of points isn't as ludicrous as it sounds. The challenge is more trying not to get hit a single time as you drive your greasy-ass tractor-trailer character through the hallways. When I first started playing, I could hardly make it to round 5 before getting smeared into the pavement by these guys. Eventually, I did accomplish the life goal, and I don't think I've been excited to reach round 5 since I was like 7 years old, but it's really worthy of some celebration here. Unless your goal is to reach round 10, which seemed almost unattainable at first. Once these knuckleheads start doing their goofy-ass run animations, it's all over. They're coming to give you the clothesline from hell and will do anything to deliver it until you find out the technique. Rather than wasting your time using any guns, just use the knife. For whatever reason, it instantly kills zombies forever, at least most of the time. I don't understand the shit where I'll kill a zombie instantly, then hit another zombie and it requires 2 slashes to kill the thing. Regardless, your sharpened piece of steel trivializes the entire mode, mainly because you don't need to aim when using the thing. You just walk up to the zombies and hit them once. It's foolproof and makes all the guns look like trash. Besides, I started noticing the guns become horrific at round 7 or 8 anyways, forcing you to resort to it eventually. These guys tried making it seem like the PPSH was the god gun. It's at the end of every map for 5,000 points as a magnum opus of sorts. Not even gonna get rug pulled by that. The real rundown from the streets of what you need to do as a strategy is use the M14 that one-shots in the head until round 7. If you really feel like using a gun at all, then you just go to your knife afterwards, or just use the knife the entire time. It's not like you need to buy anything. Each of the maps only have 3 rooms, so you just open those doors and spend your points on the mystery box if you wanted. Once you make this discovery, you kind of need to play this way no matter the map chosen, ruining the mode a little bit. But if you're solely looking at the sheer idea of having Call of Duty Zombies on a DS, I can't even hate this, even though it's rage-inducing, while also being very exploitable to the point of making it brain dead. It still wraps up Black Ops as the ultimate DS experience, honestly. Yeah, sure, Modern Warfare 3, or excuse me, Modern Warfare 3 Defiance released afterwards. That doesn't have much of a reason to talk about it. Black Ops overshadows that game due to the sheer amount of content. The only thing that's worth mentioning about Defiance is how they added actual create a class for the multiplayer. Other than that one thing, it contains almost identical content to the games we've talked about already, aside from zombies, sealing up what a lot of people would first assume are jokey, dumbass COD games that genuinely surprise you after delving into what they have stored within. I'm not gonna sit here spreading the gospel of how they're better than anything you'll ever play in your life, competing with the likes of Deal or No Deal, but if I got these during their releases, I would have been bussed into them, especially if I was down bad. This could have been my Call of Duty at home. That actually is Call of Duty. So this starts to make you wonder, how did the PSP do their Call of Duty games? Well, we only got one in 2007, named Call of Duty Roads to Victory, being a spin-off for Call of Duty 3. Now, for this being a PSP, you'd assume it's easily going to be superior to what the DS could do. We're talking about a console that can play PS2 games on the go, and graphically, sound effects, all that, yeah, it pummels anything the DS titles could muster. The only problem is the gameplay. Obviously, there is no touchscreen on a PSP, so the squadron was limited with what they would be able to do when making us aim, shoot, and move. ADS and shooting are the triggers, we move with the analog stick, reloading, throwing grenades, and performing actions is done with the D-pad, then turning is done with the X, circle, square, and triangle buttons. And let me tell you, it's not fun. Trying to shoot people while aiming with buttons is almost impossible at times. No being, human, deity, little green men, whoever, can be precise while aiming with face buttons. Their attempt at circumventing this catastrophe was making it so if you're close enough to an enemy, the hacks take over, targeting them automatically, allowing you to press your shoot button to mow them all down without much thought, or if you aim down near an enemy's hitbox, you will auto-aim onto them. You just need to hope they don't move, making the combat pretty jarring, especially when you get to these sniper segments. If you're not getting that auto-aim, good luck, little man, trying to aim with these buttons, dealing with idle sway on top of that. You might as well stick up the white flag before the fight even starts. If anything, I guess it helps solidify how your character is a private pissant maggot that struggles using rifles to aid in building his character arc. Not only do we have this aiming hogwash to deal with, Roads to Victory also has some whack-ass hit detection. There were times I blatantly shot an enemy and my bullets were going right through them. I thought the single player was the one place I could escape this shit. Apparently not. Whenever the enemies are head glitching behind a couple sandbags or pulling off any adjacent tactics, I'm hoping my team will deal with it so I don't need to. I didn't sign up to fight Casper and his band of goons. With that said, I don't want to sit here saying Roads to Victory sucks or anything. It's just the basic control that's a problem. It's a serious hump you need to traverse yourself over to get some semblance of enjoyment. Unless you're watching one of the soldiers do this peculiar mating call Steve Irwin never told me about, that's always entertaining. The game plays exactly as you'd expect, going from level to level, killing enemies, finishing menial objectives, occasionally doing a turret segment. And I just need to call out this specific mission where you're riding a plane, getting on these guns shooting Beyblades, letting them rip towards other planes. I don't know what they were thinking, but this mission goes on and on and on. It seriously took me almost 20 minutes to beat the damn thing, shooting planes on cooldown. I've never seen such an obnoxiously long, almost stationary turret segment ever in my life until today. Regardless, Roads to Victory has you feel like you would playing any other campaign-only Call of Duty title, or that's all we can play at least. There is a multiplayer, but to my understanding, the game only worked peer-to-peer like Call of Duty 4 DS. I can't look at any of the content, which sucks. Couldn't imagine it contained that much. Who knows? I mean, this is the first CoD title that has a weapon inspect animation, or I think this is a weapon inspect. Pressing reload while the magazine is full lets us view our pixelized pieces of Play-Doh, so anything is possible. But for today, playing the story is enough to understand what this thing is all about. If a gamer were to get this on an actual PSP back in 2007, the sacrifices could be stomached. Still, I don't think it would be the most amazing thing ever, and it's clearly inferior to the real thing. It would just be a solid pastime. Playing it now, it's not even worth it unless you are neck deep into Call of Duty lore, massaging every nook and cranny this series can muster. For a curious player, there's no reason to. At least the DS games have some sort of novelty to them. They're on a far less powerful piece of hardware, so it's enticing to see how everything worked. I just feel like this Amazon review I found sums up how a curious cat would feel playing Roads to Victory. How do you aim? This game had high expectations as a Call of Duty franchised item. It should have stayed PS2 PC. You aim with the X, Tringle, Circle, Squire buttons, and the aim assist is beyond ridiculous on its extreme movements, and sometimes you end up with your back to the enemy because it whips you around chasing one guy. The movement is difficult with the aiming the way it is, yet the game overall finished way too fast. Not worth the price, not worth the time played. There is one more game on the PSP lineage. This one is on PS Vita, named Call of Duty Declassified, that I'll need to return to at a later date, but I still need to mention it. This one is based on the Black Ops franchise, taking place in between the first and second game. I spent over an hour of my time trying to figure out how to set up Vita 3K, getting everything ready to go, and the game looks like a creepypasta where Sonic.exe is going to come out, tear my heart through my throat, and have sex with it with these unplayable visuals. Supposedly, it's god-awful. What a shame it is that I can't spend my time playing it. So here is the apologetic AI-generated YouTube dog, Richard, to show how sorry I am for not spending over $200 to play one shitty port of a franchise yet. Now that all the handheld consoles are out of the way, we need to return back to the phone. As I'm sure you're aware, those Java games are not the only phone adaptations for the greatest gaming series since the inception of humankind. There were 6 of those older Java games, and 5 that have been released for iOS and or Android over the years. We got not only World at War, but also Black Ops 1 Zombies fully torqued for phones. It makes me want to go car surfing on vehicles going 70 miles an hour on a freeway because these can't be played anymore. They're both very well-made versions of the game. To my understanding, to play these, you need to have one of the older iPhones. If not, you need to transform yourself into a circus animal, jumping through flaming hoops and eating questionable berries for either of them to run in modern times. All I can say from the experiences I have playing these hundreds of years ago, and just from a visual, they are both far superior to DS zombies. Either one of them was a solid choice if you wanted zombies on the go, and a fantastic addition to the mobile gaming market until they were taken off the Apple Store. But if you didn't give a rat's ass about zombies, they also attempted to make a normal kind of Call of Duty for mobile titled Call of Duty Strike Team that I also can't get to work, having you do various objectives stylized similarly to Black Ops 2's strike missions, commanding soldiers to perform actions, surviving waves of enemies, or whatever they decided to stick on the hamster wheel to get the players stimulated enough to keep grinding it. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to work out. The game had a laughably short uptime before the studio was shut down. Strike Team released in 2013 and was taken off the App Store in 2014, making it a curious piece of history a lot of people probably didn't even know existed, or just plain forgot about. If that wasn't enough, Activision was seeming to go hog wild during this generation, to the point of them taking their chances in the RTS world, releasing Call of Duty Heroes in 2014. So I'm assuming Activision shut down the studio working on Strike Team to put their their focus on this? I don't know. I just feel like I'm looking at a mod for another game. I never thought Call of Duty would even attempt going into other genres. This is the only time the series has branched this far away from its source material, aside from this. But whoever made the decision to greenlight these didn't have much of a choice for what you could put on a brick phone. If you could make a first-person shooter run on one of these back then, society would have rolled over to bask in your glory. Whatever the reason was for Call of Duty Heroes to be released, it seemed to do well enough, lasting longer than Strike Team, having a 4-year run until it shut down in 2018. Presumably because of the final piece of this Call of Duty handheld mobile gaming universe releasing in 2019, fittingly named Call of Duty Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, COD M, Fish M, whichever way you want to say it. This was like the fucking grand slam of gaming Activision tried pulling off, attempting to bring Call of Duty over to the mobile gaming market. We're talking raw dog Call of Duty on a phone. And let's be serious right off the rip. It's not surprising Fishmobile is the most expansive, in-depth, and engaging game out of the lineage of mobile or handheld Call of Duty games. It's plugged up with a traditional multiplayer, battle royale, and zombies, with the main question becoming, does this content play Frosted Flakes great? Honestly, yeah. Like, really, it plays how you'd expect, even exceeding those expectations in some cases. There's a plethora of content, mainly with the weapons and create a class. To my count, Call of Duty Mobile has 121 guns, all having mastery camos between each other. You have 31 score streaks overall that are unlocked by either leveling up or with an in-game currency, a wide amount of perks, lethals, and tacticals to use. Even specialists from Black Ops 3, 4, and Infinite Warfare are in here, giving more variety than any of the console or PC releases ever have, oddly. When it comes to the maps, almost all of them are taken from various entries in the series, stemming back to COD 4, going all the way to Cold War, creating this amalgamation of sorts of the Call of Duty franchise. It's funny, the more I play Fishmobile, the more I realize, whenever I've seen people getting angry about Call of Duty, whether it's genuine critiques to the franchise, or the good old 2025 fun rage bait slop that my eyes need to be tainted with every fucking day, is this not what those people are yelling to the high heavens for? Is this not what they want to play? I guess the fact it's a mobile game turns a lot of them away. Also, another reason we'll get to in a minute. But if you haven't realized yet, I'm playing this through an emulator on PC, shockingly being a viable option you wouldn't initially expect. I'm using Game Loop. I probably had spyware go right into my anus with that decision. Unfortunately, I didn't take another thought and just went for it. Whether that's the case or not, COD Mobile seems to be optimized well enough to play this way. The only real problem I noticed was how the aiming occasionally felt like I was back on the DS again, this oily ass aiming with a slight amount of input lag. But a problem that is far worse than any of that is the bots, being the other big issue that would probably turn people away. They exist when you first make your account. COD M is trying to rope you in by making you feel like an inhuman, demonic, cooch-slaying machine, slaughtering everything that stands within 15 meters of your character's life force, which isn't uncommon in gaming. The main issue is how they don't go away. No matter how much you continue playing, they'll always exist on either your team or the enemy team. You will obviously run into real people, but the bots will always exist, filling up a portion of the lobby. Now, that could be a good thing if you were playing COD Mobile for pure camo grinding to shut your brain off, keeping yourself busy for a short period of time, turning the whole situation into a mindless grind fest, then there aren't really any problems. If you want to go against real players consistently though, you are forced to play ranked that is also input based. So if you're playing on an emulator, when you play ranked ascending the ladder, the player base continuously decreases to where you need to wait an unreasonable amount of time to find a match. From what I've been told by others, you're best off, if you're only playing on emulator, is to play the few ranked matches you're forced to play, then never touch it again, dealing with the bots and sometimes real people lobbies. It's a bit convoluted, that's just how it was explained to me, so I could be wrong in some areas. Surely I'll discover that after a while with how games are fetishized now. You make one mistake about a game, all of a sudden you become the person who enslaved someone's family, beat them to near death with a handcrafted Wuthrad, and tore all their cats' teeth out to make a necklace and use its head as a pendant. Regardless of how the actual minute details are, depending on how you feel about the bots, that's the ultimate deciding factor for if someone would want to stick around playing Fish Mobile. It's either deal with that or deal with a longer wait time for matches. Or you could just play on a phone like you're kind of supposed to. This same exact thing about bots can be said about the Battle Royale also. It just works slightly differently over there with bot functionality. That mode is always ranked, so your first game will be fully bots, and as you win more games, your rank raises, so you start seeing more real people after playing it for a while. Where I could imagine if your rank got high enough on emulator, finding a game would be almost impossible unless you wait 15 lifetimes to get into a single match. Thankfully, I don't care about Battle Royales. I'd rather jump headfirst into a wood chipper than waste my time playing them. I'll still give credit to the unique features they have in here though. Them putting in character abilities adds some garlic and onion powder to the mix and makes it more enticing than Snorzone, that also had a phone port of its own that was shut down earlier this year. I just don't really care about these. The only inkling of happiness I felt while playing the Battle Royale was seeing the Blackout map again. That's all I really cared about. And it's also crazy to me that people can just play actual Battle Royales on their phone now. Lastly, we have the zombies. By far, the most pathetic part of the entire situation. With all the food I was eating with the other modes, I thought there would be more to do here. There's only one map for traditional zombies, and it's Shinonuma. Not to rag on it, Shinonuma is a solid map. I just don't understand why there aren't more maps to play. The multiplayer and Battle Royale have so much more content or replayability in comparison. They gave us 3 modes for zombies. 2 of them simply add a round limit, and when you climb that mountain, you need to fight Cromarak's brother from Borderlands, which is a nice addition. Having a boss to fight at the end is fun. Couldn't imagine that happening on the DS version. Then the final mode is Endless Zombies. That is just endless zombies. You play until a zombie slaps you silly, introducing you to Shinonuma's woodland floor. And if you happen to get bored of playing on that one map, you're in luck, because we have another mode called Undead Siege that is essentially a tower defense game, Zombies Edition. You start the day gathering weapons, points, doing small objectives that pop up, and once nighttime rolls around, everything goes to shit, and you need to defend this Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat creation from waves of zombies. It's alright. I'd personally rather play traditional zombies than this. Plus, it appears they stopped supporting this mode entirely, and if that's the case, why keep it here? But if you take a step back, really taking this all in, I would have loved having this growing up, even with the lack of zombies content. Literally, the best Call of Duty game you could get on the go when I was a kid is Black Ops 1 on the DS. And it's only good if you're looking at it under the guise of what console it's on. If you're comparing it to CoD Mobile, it's garbage. It doesn't even come close. Going through all of these Call of Duty mobile games is like watching the history of technology unfold before your very eyes. Once upon a time, people were playing Call of Duty 4 on their number pad phone, going bananas due to the fact they're playing a game on their phone in the first place. Then the DS was like, wow, this is sort of Call of Duty. It has the ability to play multiplayer and even a scuffed zombies mode. Oh my lord, I can play Call of Duty story mode on my PSP and it sort of looks like the game. People were soiling their depends over being able to bring Black Ops 1 zombies on the go with their phones. Now we have a game that has a full-on multiplayer with real progression, having more content than any of those previous games ever could, a fully functional battle royale, and a zombies mode that, again, big mistake to not support that anymore, all in one app. I don't know if it's horrifying all of this has happened so quickly, or if I'm coming off a bender I wasn't aware of. But it's surreal to me seeing how far technology has come in a fraction of a lifetime. Unless I get hit by a car, then it's just game over at that point. Make sure to leave all of your thoughts about these mobile Call of Duty games in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you all have to say about them. Is there an underworld elitist club for DS zombies? Are the Java Call of Duty games truly the best entries in the series? Have you ever beat it while playing Call of Duty Mobile at the same time? Let me know. Big ups to our channel members who go the extra mile to support the channel. If you'd like to join them and get early access to all content, be sure to hit the join button right next to the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.